back to another Wheel of Time video, and oh my goodness am I excited about this video. And it's not just going to be this video, it's going to be a whole series of videos, because I got a chance to interview or have a conversation with Bree, who a lot of you will know or have interacted with, or if you've been watching my videos, you will have heard her name, because I talk about her a lot. I adore Bree. She is a friend of mine. She's incredible. I'll let her introduce herself in the video that's about to come. But I also, in that same conversation, I got a chance to talk to Pez. Now, a lot of you won't know that name, but if you were on Discord, my server, or in the Wheel Takes or Straw Hair Chits server, while the show was airing especially, you undoubtedly heard her name. Because Bree was reporting to us things that Pez was observing while watching the show. Background, of course, Pez had not read the books when the show came out. She's since read them, but when the show was airing, she had not read any of the books, but she has a background in costume design. And so she was picking up clues from the costumes that I'm just gonna, hey, spoiler warning in this video goes through to the literal end of the series, because there are hints in the costumes of the characters that point to things that happen in the final book of the Wheel of Time. Seriously, the people who say that the makers of the show didn't read the books don't even know what they're talking about. The level of detail, it's astounding. Anyway, this was such a fun conversation. In this particular video, we are mainly focusing on Egwene's costume. But like I said, this is going to be a series of videos because we talked for 3 hours. And it was so fun. So you get to see most of that. This video, like I said, mostly Egwene. And I'm just really excited. So let's get to it.
Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy. Let's be nerdy. Let's be nerdy, babe.
Thank you so much, both of you, for doing this. I really, really appreciate this. Yeah, I guess I should start officially this video by asking you to introduce yourselves. So I will begin with the guest that inspired this video, Pez. Tell us about yourself.
I am Pez. I am a trained costume designer. I did a lot of theater, a little bit of other stuff. Don't do it for a living because there's not a lot of jobs, but I that's my background. I'm trained as that, and I'd never read The Wheel of Time, but I was a member of Bree's Discord, and I was intrigued by the pictures that I had seen in the preview images, and I was like, well, this looks like fun. I'll watch this, and then I started asking questions.
Yes,
oh, did she? She started asking so many questions.
Yes. It was so fun having Bree report your findings to the rest of us. It was really, really great. Okay, and then I guess, yeah, Bree, we are talking about you, so please introduce yourself.
I am Bree. I am a romance author and Wheel of Time chaos entity, I guess. I am here in avatar form because I had an anxiety dream so that made me think that something bad would happen if I didn't do it. So now I have joined the lesbian nerdy. I'm not a floating head, but you know.
I'm literally, like, you guys are seeing my face. I'm quite jealous that you both have clothes on and have bodies.
Please admire my land shirt.
Seriously, Bree, you have a land shirt.
That's amazing.
So yeah, Pez, you said you had not read the books before going into the show. You've read them all now, though, right?
Yeah, I went on an ill-advised January through April Wheel of Time binge.
Right.
Yeah,
I've read all of them except for New Spring. Is that what the prequel is called?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I just want to get that out there because one of the things that was amazing with Bree reporting to us all of your findings, it was amazing to see the stuff that you were pulling out that you had no idea about because you hadn't read the books, and you were, I don't know if I would say predicting, because I don't know that you realized you were predicting things, but you were
I had no idea.
Yeah, you were calling out things about characters that were in the costumes that you would have no idea about because you hadn't read the books. So
yeah, like, to give an example to everybody, by episode 2, and like, I'm assuming we're full spoilers here.
Yeah, that's why. Okay. That's also why I asked what book she was on.
By episode 2, she started getting worried that Egwene was going to go up in a giant hail of fire and flame.
Yeah.
And then one day she came into the server after episode 3 and said, "Hey guys, did the Aiel like trees or something?" And we were all like, "Why are
What?
you asking us this?"
Yeah.
Pez? And then she
Yeah.
like came in after that episode 2. She's like, "Does Tom have something to do with royalty?" And we
Yeah.
were like, "Why are you asking that?"
Yep.
Pez?
When we do theater costumes, I mean, the first thing you do is you read the script and you have to take a ton of notes because most plays don't have a script at the front or a note at the front that says, hey, this character is going to be wearing this costume. You're going to rent it from this costume house or anything like that.
Mhm.
So the first step is literally read the text and get all of the clues that you can, whether it's something where somebody says Tom is in corduroy and it has a patchwork lining that's very colorful, or it could be something like very subtle, maybe something about how a costume sounds when it moves or something like that.
Mm.
And you have to take all of that into account when you're coming up with your master plan. Yeah, you
Yeah.
end up coming up with it all as a team. And to me, that was very evident just watching from the start. They had a team, they had a cohesive design plan for the world, and they were acting on it. And it was awesome.
Yeah. Is there a character that you would like to start with?
Oh, gosh. No, surprise me.
Surprise you? Okay, well, you called out Egwene. So let's start with Egwene. This is one of the dresses. I read your notes. You took amazing notes while you were watching the show, and you talked about this dress. What did you see in this?
So this is the dress that Egwene wears when we first see her, the very first time that we see her in episode 1. And the thing I loved about this dress is that they have done tiny pleats. I think that's what it is tiny pleats in the fabric. And it looks like the rush and flow of water to me. It looks like the river. And I loved it because when I hadn't read the books, it was just evocative of, hey, we're going to go throw her in the river, which is great because that's exactly what they do. And the river is such a big part of finding herself and finding her center and her identity. And now that I've read the books, I realized that that scene also evokes that necessity to surrender to your magic and kind of let it flow through you. And that's exactly what Egwene was doing in the river. And so I felt like this costume really captured the heart of that feeling and that need to do this necessary step to capture her own power.
Yeah. I like, these are things that, I mean, I guess you would absorb subconsciously, but I mean, going through your notes, the amount of things that I was like, oh, I did kind of notice that, but I didn't pay attention to the fact that I noticed it. Like, that's, I don't know.
Costumes are a subconscious language is how I kind of explain it. It's not something that you're really necessarily meant to overtly notice, but it is there to give you cues and hints at what's going to come, maybe for a character, what their fate is going to be, or even just where they come from and where they're going. It's a lot of fun.
Mm. Now, this would be, okay, please just talk about this costume, because again, listening to you talk about it made me so happy.
So this is the blue blouse and the kind of split skirt costume, right? And I watched the X-ray things that Amazon put out, the little like animated things, and I wanted to see them just because I saw a screenshot of one on Twitter and I thought it looked cool. But then I watched the one for Manetheren, where they explained that lost kingdom that they sing about in the show, and I looked at it and I was looking at Egwene and it looks like there are rays of light just breaking across her costume. That's what this embroidery looks like to me. And I thought, oh, it's like a lighthouse. Like she's going to help Rand find his way through the darkness or something. And then I saw the Manetheren thing on X-ray and I was like, oh no, she's going to die. She's going to go out in a giant blaze of light. She's going to do the Manetheren queen thing and she's going to die, because the show, unlike the books, did a really good job of selling me on Rand and Egwene actually maybe finding a way to make it work, which does really not happen in the books at all. Their relationship was a little stunted in the books, but
Stunted.
I believe I described it to you as the chemistry of limp noodles.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
gluten-free noodles.
Yeah.
at that.
I literally will forget that they were a couple. Like the only thing I think they did like a couple in the books is fight. Like they're just
Yes.
like, other than that, every other interaction between them felt like, oh, they've met? Okay. Like,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the show
the
did a
deep
much better job selling that.
yes. Deep relationship, friendship first, they were adorable and I shipped them in the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
show, absolutely.
And I'm
Absolutely.
curious to see where they go with that, because from the books, nowhere. But in the show, I think they have enough chemistry that we might actually get like a dismount.
A dismount. Sorry. But yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
While you're
Is-
on this picture, make sure you take a close look at her belt.
But I didn't see that.
Yeah. I love her belt for so many reasons. The first is that she's got this intricate metal belt buckle. And even without understanding anything about the symbology of the universe, I loved it because we hear that she has this friendship with Layla in episode 1. It's inferred from things that Perrin says to Layla, from things that Nynaeve says to Perrin. They're friends, and yet we never get to see them being friends because, Layla kind of bites it really badly, actually. So I
Yes.
loved that she had this intricate metal piece, because to me it looked like this is an anchoring piece, a physical piece of their friendship that helps sell that Layla and Egwene are friends, because she's wearing this gorgeous, intricate piece that her friend made for her. It also happens to look an awful lot like, the Flame of Tarvalon, which, there's a little bit of a connection there for Egwene.
Little bit. Like, and it even could be the two sides. Like, I don't know, I'm doing things
Yes.
with my hands where you could fit them together. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I love that. And I love that, within the universe itself, within the show universe, I should say, it could be something from Manethrin. It could be some symbol that maybe the villagers don't understand, but that they're used to using, that's a long-standing motif. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just meant to be pretty, but I don't think anything is just meant to be pretty from the costumes and props in this show. They've got a
I
lot hidden in them.
There's
Yeah.
a window that has this too, in the upstairs in the inn. I noticed it, I think, in episode 1. Moraine looks out at Rand through a dragon fang shaped window, like a little carving.
Yeah, and I loved that because in the
Wow.
book they explicitly stated that the inn was like the only thing left standing from whatever had been the Two Rivers before, and then we learn about Manethrin, and it's like, oh, that's really
Mm,
cool. I love that
yeah.
they included this.
Of course, then in the show, Moray just decimated it.
They can
Through
rebuild.
Egwene's house. Through
Yes.
Egwene's house at Centralix.
They're starting
you
Perrin's
know.
building projects early.
No, that building has historical significance. Anyway, sorry.
The Historical Properties Committee will be meeting with Moraine Sedai if she ever comes back through.
Indeed, they will. Yeah. The other thing I would say, like, okay, my understanding of costumes before reading your notes was like virtually nothing. The thing that I noticed when watching it was that Egwene's clothes seemed nicer than everybody else's.
Yes,
Like, they just seem,
absolutely.
yeah, like they fit her better. They seem newer, cleaner, which, she's the mayor's daughter, so that was something that I did register. Like that's the level of my visual observation. It's just,
But that's perfect. That's exactly what we're trying to do when we design costumes. Somebody might have clothes that are significantly better than what we would see a difference between like the townie and the country boy in the real world. But we have to push those values really, really far to make sure that that's something that the audience can pick up on. And so I love that with Egwene, we see a lot more finished product. The seams are cleaner, things like that, whereas everybody else is a little bit, or in Matt's case, a lot bit scuffed
yeah.
up. And of course, they all get blood on them in like 2 seconds anyway. So
You talked about her coat in some of your notes as well. I don't know if you can make it out, if we can make it out in this.
yeah, so along the coat, along the front center closure of the coat, especially on the skirt panels, but then also on the cuffs of her sleeves, they have this painted. I think it's painted. It might be embroidery. It's kind of hard to tell without like stopping the show every 3 seconds, but It's a flame motif. So I started asking, hey, does Egwene like fire? What's this Egwene fire connection? She's got light, she's got fire, she's got all those colors from that wacky preview image that we never got to see where she was in like the rainbow spa pool thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, she's the only one with all the colors. Hey, all these magic ladies have these colors, and there's a flame. Is there any importance here? And everyone was kind of very quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, you can kind
Okay.
of see the flame motif there just under the belt.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's
Yes.
very subtle, and it could be meant to be leaves or flowers or something else, but I was going with, no, she's got flames. There's flame stuff going on with Egwene.
Right. Which I would never have noticed. The other thing in your notes, I don't know how, like, I mean, I'll just call it out, but you mentioned plaid. I did not notice plaid at all. And then when you mentioned it, I started seeing, oh yeah, though they all have plaid. Not all of them.
Yeah, like her coat right now has got like a plaid thing, right?
Yep, it's a subtle
does.
plaid.
Yeah, it's
And
a very
I
subtle
didn't
plaid.
notice it actually either, but they did that little short costume explanation from Isis, the costume designer. And
Mhm.
she said, oh yeah, the Two Rivers thing is plaid. And then I started seeing it everywhere except for on Rand, which I thought was really intriguing.
Mhm. That is
Like, is Rand from
intriguing indeed.
somewhere else? That's super weird.
Yes. Yeah. Anyways, it's like the level of detail is quite astounding. Speaking of plaid, oh, is that plaid or is that just a stripe? Because I know
think
that's
there's
why.
both in that skirt, because I think there's like a subtle dark blue plaid, and then the yellow might be embroidery or decoration on top of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I saved this photo, because I was like, oh look, she has a plaid skirt.
They
But
all
okay.
have elements of it. I love it because it really helps sell that, they maybe they all weave a slightly different pattern, but they're all the same people from the same cloth.
Yeah, from the same cloth. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh wait, maybe we can see her skirt in this one. It's the same kind
Oh,
of.
but you can also see that Nynaeve has a subtle plaid thing going on with her skirt as well. So
Yeah.
if we look at one of the ones with her and Rand sitting on the mountain, I think we can see the plaid in her skirt in one
Okay.
of those. It's like a
Oh
dark
yeah.
red. Yeah. So this is before they're all blood stained. So this is actually red that's in in the fabric and not just an
Yes.
accident later on.
That'd be very weird bloodstains. They would be like very.
It really would. And I also love this because it shows how practical these costumes really are. She's got leggings on. This is
Mhm.
not just, I'm going to wear a pretty skirt and flounce around or something like that. These are actually pretty practical clothes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, the costumes were so pretty. Like that also hit me. Like my level of understanding, obviously very minimal, but yeah,
They're beautiful.
And the fact that she is wearing pants just made me really happy. It really
Because she has
did.
pockets. Several of her costumes have pockets in them,
Yes,
and it's so
yes.
wonderful.
Also, one thing that I remember Pez pointed out to us is that she is in blues, and Rand's shirt is always blue in the beginning. So
Yes.
they are in complementing, they've got a shared color scheme at the beginning here.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they share that with Moiraine in particular. And so I was feeling like there was something up with the three of them. There's some connection between Rand and Moiraine and Egwene, and I couldn't quite puzzle out what it was beyond that, Egwene and Rand clearly had a thing going on, but I was convinced there had to be some connection with Moiraine. And then as I was reading the books, I had read the credits as the show was going, and the exposition farmer at the end of the first book started talking, and I was like, oh no, we've got a Skywalker situation going on. I know what the Moiraine connection is.
Yeah, if people don't understand this, we had that talkative farmer in Eye of the World. Pez was reading Eye of the World, and she knew two important names from the show. She knew Moiraine Damodred, and she knew Tigraine.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm like,
exposition farmer.
Oh
no. She had the entire fucking family line
Wow.
nailed down from that farmer's talk.
Yeah, so I knew as soon as Rand met Elaine and everybody, I was like, oh no, this is really, really awkward Skywalkering, and it's only going to get worse from here. And it did.
So the credits of the show spoiled you.
Yes, they credited the Aiel woman as
Tigraine.
Tigraine.
Yeah. Wow.
And so the exposition farmer started talking about the runaway princess.
And you were like, oh
no.
Yeah,
That's
I'm like,
Rand's
oh,
mommy.
there's a whole outline to this puzzle now. It's not just a couple pieces.
Yep.
And I
4
don't
books
think in
for the
books,
rest of us to figure that out.
Yeah, we don't learn Moraine's family name for several books.
Yeah, when did we learn Moraine's name?
It's several books in, because they don't really talk about all of that much. I mean, you get it in passing, but
Moraine is like everybody's aunt somehow.
Yeah, she's definitely auntie to Elaine, which I find weird. Like, Elaine doesn't seem to know that.
Like, yeah, I thought that was interesting, especially with the Aes Sedai being so obsessed with political connections. But
because we were just talking about how Egwene wears the blue to match Rand. She is not doing it in this fake Egwene vision.
Yes. And the other really interesting thing with this, the designer pointed out in that little tiny costume documentary that they gave us, it's only maybe 2 minutes long, but she said something about how all of the costumes are asymmetrical, either in that or in another interview, because the world is not balanced. And so all of the costumes are asymmetrical because the world is not balanced. This costume of Egwene's is symmetrical. And it was my first huge clue that something is deeply, deeply wrong, because her costume has symmetry.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. They aren't. The costume, like the lining, the way the coats or the shirts fasten very much reminds me of, okay, I guess we'll do Lan next because I wanted to talk about his costume. But it reminded me of the way Korean, like, traditional clothes fasten. So that's what my connection with that was. But that is asymmetrical. They just are. But yeah, right. They're not matching. That's so, that's so cool.
And she looks just like, I mean, that's like a weird palette that we have not seen her in anywhere. I mean, she looks off on many levels.
And the lavender, I don't know if it's the same dress. I need to go back and watch that episode again, but it might be the same dress that she wore in the inn, because she's wearing that lavender dress when she comes back from her trial in the river.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's the same one or not, but it's that hint that she's happy with her place in the two rivers, even if it's not the same dress.
And I'm noticing now that I'm looking at it, it's a subtle plaid, though.
It is. It's a very subtle plaid.
And it's asymmetrical.
And it is an asymmetrical subtle plaid.
Yes.
Wow.
I love it.
Oh, that's great. While I was looking here, you talked a bit about this, and I'm realizing I didn't save any Eamon Valda photos, but this horrible scene. Can you talk about this dress a bit?
Oh gosh. So this is the white shift that they dress Egwene in to be absolute assholes. Can I say that?
You can.
Okay, wonderful. Because this scene is so horrible. The thing that I really appreciate about this dress is that it is spotless. It is spotless. It looks like it fits her, which makes me feel like they have trunks that they're carrying with them in their freaking baggage train of stuff to fit a variety of people, presumably all women, because they have a thing going on, for these Aes Sedai that they capture. And they want to dress them up and make them pure according to their standards, which are absolute trash. And they want to do that. And it makes her look small. It makes her look more afraid and more helpless, more incapable than she ever has been, if I have my read of her character correct. And they tried to force her to be something that she isn't with costume. And I really appreciated that. And I also really appreciated that they chose to do that with costume instead of, sexual violence or just physical violence in general. Like, that scene could have gone so many different ways, and I was really glad that it only went as far as it did.
Again,
I mean, another thing they did is they stripped away her braid of adulthood.
Yes. They took everything that she had on, every stitch, because none of her was good enough to go in front of them.
I am noticing that this is symmetrical, though.
It is.
Which is kind of chilling.
It is, because they're trying to force balance on the world. And but the other thing I really like looking at this still here is that seam across the bicep would be very restrictive for movement. So this is a dress that she can't move very well in, because they want to hold her still and keep her from doing things is kind of my read on it. It's also possible that they have, a short sleeve version and a long sleeve version and they added extra sleeve, but I'm reading it more as they don't want her moving around much.
I mean, they tied her hands down, so I'm gonna say that you might be right about that. Yeah, like again, it was when I was reading your notes, one of the way you worded it, you said like they have these outfits that are meant to fit people with breasts and hips. Like they are prepared, they are traveling prepared to capture women. Like
Yes.
that was like, oh God, yeah. Like they're a company that is exclusively men that carry with them clothing meant to fit women. And that is
fits
alarming.
the torture gowns, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no visible fold lines in the clothing, which means that somebody somewhere in that camp prepared the gown when they realized they were capturing her so that it would look right for Valda's little thing.
His play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His horrible play.
Can we talk about her with the Tinkers?
Yeah, one of the things that I really thought was interesting with her clothes and the Tinkers is that she kind of adopts some of their palette and some of their garments. And part of that is practical. She's very cold. They've been on the run. It's kind of been a bad day. So she wants to wear something warm and comfortable. But I loved how they showed that because Egwene physically embraced the Tinkers and their lifestyle and the things that they were sharing. Maybe it wasn't for her, but she was still willing to be open to what they were sharing with her, their experiences, finding ways to relate to it with her own life, and physically demonstrating that by putting on some of their garments and some of their colors. Whereas Perrin was much more cautious about accepting that, and we don't really see him adopting too much of what the Tinkers wear or how they dress. And it was also really interesting to me in contrast with Aram, the leader's grandson, because he's the least colorful of all of these very, very colorful and expressive people. And I thought that was so fascinating because to me, it made me feel like, is Egwene going to join them? Or is Aram going to go with Egwene and Perrin when they leave? Because I was assuming all along that Egwene and Perrin were going to leave. They had stuff to do, worlds to save, all that good stuff. So they weren't going to stay, presumably, but it made me think maybe Aram is going to go with them. And she's going to take part of the Tinker culture with her as well, because that seems to just be what she does.
Yeah. I'm very proud of myself talking to a costume expert. I did notice the Aram's faded clothes during that. I was like, I know what that is. Like he is the most disillusioned with their life. What I didn't notice, actually, somebody pointed out in the comments, there's one point where Egwene is wandering around with a Tinker shawl on, and it's colorful and it's striped. And it's, that's a stole.
Oh!
That is a striped, colorful, like multicolored stole.
I'm going to have to go back and watch for that.
Yeah, it's not the 7 colors, but it's like a striped stole around her shoulders.
Yeah, that's not an accident.
No, it's obviously not. Especially like knowing all the other detail that they put into things. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that, at least as much as I did. I had such fun with this conversation. This was so, it's also opened my eyes to watching other television. Now I'm noticing things like, complementary colors, or they don't match or stuff. I don't know. It's really got me thinking. This was so fun. The next video in this series is going to be focusing on Lan and Alana's costume. So, look forward to that. And, let me know your thoughts if there's anything that somehow we missed in this very long conversation about one character's costume, or mainly that one character. Let me know in the comments below. And, if you like my content and you want to support me, I do have a Patreon. It is going to be linked in the description below. To my patrons, thank you so, so much for your support. I will forever be grateful to you all. Thank you so, so much. And with that, I am going to end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye! I'm a member of this Animaze's Discord. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, I didn't know I could dance.
Apparently you can do the chicken dance.
That was great.
Well, that's definitely definitely gonna happen now.
Yes. Yes.